Are we live? Hello, everybody. I have this book, and it's called My Doctor Never Told Me That. You see this? I have this book. Hello. I have this book, My Doctor Never Told Me That. The reason I have this book is because I was the author whisperer on it. And I'm going to talk to you about that and a whole bunch of other things that has to do with words today. But first of all, I have to click over here to make sure that I'm, cooking with gas. Scroll down. There she is, looking startled. I really wonder, when people look at the clip, the frozen shot, and I'm thinking to myself, they must just think, oh no, we won't be watching that. Just move on. Oh dear, technology. So how is everyone today? I'm a little, I think I was up too late working on Pivot Free. In the video, try something else, please. This is day job. I know that sounds like I'm rambling, but this live thing that Facebook provides you, it keeps these little bubbles pop up that tell you all kinds of really unhelpful things because they don't explain what they're saying. And this is my topic today: words. I said in my teaser for this today, watch me talk tomorrow because I'm going to help you get anything you want. And it's not a wand. I don't have a wand. I don't have a magic formula. I do have, however, this rather important insight. And it's so silly. And good morning, Charles. Good morning, Charles. Good morning, Garen. Charles is dealing with snakes of a very different kind than the ones I usually deal with. And I sincerely hope that he's going to be able to resolve that. And Garen deals with that other kind of snake that we tend to run into in the larger city centers. So here's the thing. My doctor never told me that. I got reached out to by this lovely couple. They had studied chiropractic medicine, and they'd opened a clinic, and they were in a small town, and they decided to become part of the community by being involved in what was going on. Good morning, Melissa. How are you? And one of the things that so he was working with some weird machine that I think that the version of it now is cold sculpting, and he was in on the ground floor with this idea that you could liquefy your fat and using something, and then when it left, there you were, smaller. And so they had signed on, and they were part of whatever that company was. And he asked me if I would do the book that they wanted to give away to explain it. So he sent me all the information, and I thought, yeah, sure, and I did that. And then he said, my wife has a project that she really wants to do, but she needs your help. And what she was doing was a thing that I had done, which was get connected to the local free newspaper that comes into everybody's house once a month. And she was doing free articles on health because they were in the health profession. And of course, when you read the articles and you realize that they were the chiropractors, and he had this machine that could help you lose weight, they got a lot of clients that way. It's called a lost leader, in that you do something nice for people, and then hopefully they repay you in kind. And what is it? I've got a dress. Branding, baby. All right. So when they came to me with this idea, she said, there are so many things that doctors don't explain. And I said, like what? And she, listed a bunch of stuff. And I said, you know what? You're right. They don't. I've never had a doctor tell me that. And these aren't big things, like if your toe turns black, there's a problem. Um, the big things, of course, they tell you. Quite often they don't, though. What they get into the habit of doing is when you go to the doctor, I don't know if this has happened to you, you go to the doctor and you sign in with the nurse who keeps you waiting for the 40 minutes they're behind today, and then you step on the scale that lists you as 3 inches too short for your weight. You go in and sit there and wait. And he comes in and he says, or she says, what seems to be the problem? I don't know. That's why I'm here. And then they realize that they have not asked a helpful question. They've been general, and they're also basically saying, yeah, how you doing? They're breaking the ice. When you go to the lawyer, the same thing happens. The lawyer went to school for 1,137 years, and you go to the lawyer to have them take care of something so that you either don't go to prison or that you can send somebody else there. And they say, so what's the problem? What seems to be the problem? How can I help you? I don't know how you can help me. I don't know what you do. And that has been a problem for me my entire life. And I have never before connected the dots, the why. I've never done it before until I started working on this book, until I started working on pivotry. Because what I'm looking for when I research, when I fall down a rabbit hole, which is what happened last night, I'm looking for examples of things that people have experienced. Because when you give somebody an example that's familiar, they say, oh yeah. And the minute you give them something that they recognize, they lean in a little more and they listen. Because now they know that you get each other. You get him, here, they get you. And now what you're saying has value. So most of the time, people aren't listening until you connect to them that way. So I'm always looking for, the thing that is going to make people have have one of these. If I say the thing, if I show them the thing, if I tell a great story and I get them to laugh hard at something ridiculous that I did, in that interval after the hard laugh, what has happened in the laugh is all the positive endorphins have surged to the surface. If I slide in something important that I want them to know, while they're still laughing, they will always connect feeling good with the information I gave them. I have used the joke or the crazy story as my lost leader. I have given people a reason to trust that I care enough to talk directly to them in a way that matters to them. I've always done that, but I've never understood why the way I talk hits home better than a lot of people. I'm going to turn this off now. And then I read something that made so much sense. I sat there and I thought, look at that. Who knew? But oh boy, that makes sense. And here it is. So we have 3 brains. I've explained this, but we may have newcomers here. We have 3 brains. The first brain lives at the back, and it's been around since my palm tree neon light burned out. Oh no! Charles, can't you get a bulb? Doesn't it plug in or something? Mine has a battery. Where is it? Oh, it's resting. Mine has a battery, but you can also plug it into the USB or something. Anyway, we're talking, Charles has a palm tree neon light, which gave me the inspiration to go and get a flamingo neon light. So we were just having that little sidebar conversation. Sorry. So here's the thing. Um, when mankind, humankind, arrived, we didn't have language. We didn't talk. Well, we may have made noises, but we didn't have language, and we didn't have nuances, and we didn't have um, a whole vocabulary of things. And at that time, the brain that kept us alive, the one that lives back here, the cave brain, it looks after us. It keeps everything operating. It keeps all of the organs doing what they do and all of the systems doing what they do. And so it's busy doing that all the time. The other thing it does all the time is keep us safe because its job is to help us survive. It is a basic brain. It does simple, repetitive functions, and it remembers danger. It remembers danger, and it can identify if this is dangerous, and that looks like that, that's probably dangerous too. Its whole job is to keep us on our toes, alert, and safe. That's it. That's all. And by the way, not a bad job, really. I'm all in favor of it. We should give that brain a raise. So I just have this hair that I'm going to ignore in a minute. There we go. Okay. So that brain, in order to get our attention so that we know we have to do something if it's dangerous, is it keeps us frightened. It keeps our adrenaline high. It keeps us anxious. It keeps us, it's kind of like Sugar Rush Central. And so we're always on alert. We're always on alert when the cave brain is going, boo, ha, and so we run and hide. And therefore that brain keeps us in an emotional state all the time. It freeze, hide, fight, flee, comply. Everything is emotional. It doesn't allow us time to analyze whether or not it's an immediate threat or an eventual threat. And the reason it doesn't do that is because it only thinks in the immediate present tense. It doesn't think about the past. It doesn't think about the future. When it recognizes a danger, it goes and looks for a similar thing in its memory. However, it doesn't think what it has in its memory banks is from the past. It thinks it's all real now. So that brain would be fairly tedious to know. I've met a few people like that. I'm sure we all have. And it is essential to our survival. Okay, here's the thing about that brain. It does 95% of the work. As we get older, and we're born with that brain, as we get older, by the time we start imitating sounds that the people around us make, we're trying to connect so that they can grunt and point and we can run and hide. As we make more sophisticated sounds, as we imitate more sophisticated sounds, the more sophisticated brain begins to develop. And this is the brain that communicates. This is the brain that has language and can talk and understand what other people are saying, can understand emotion, it can understand intention, it can understand shades of things. And we use that brain when, by the time we're about 3, we start using that brain more and more and more. And so that brain is only doing a small amount of the work to keep us going, right? It means that most of the time we see the picture and then we gradually learn the words that go with the picture. That's how the learning curve evolves. By the time we're in our mid to late teens, for most of us, the third brain, the one that lives up here, begins to develop, and that's the one at the front that has the ability to understand things like cause and effect. It understands when you're late. It understands repercussions of your actions and behavior. And we practice with that brain, and we get gooder at it as time goes by. For a lot of people, that brain doesn't develop well if there has been trauma, if there has been a significant crisis. People are not as good at being theoretical and strategic if they've been terrified or terrorized or abused or injured in some significant way, because more of the brain that keeps us safe has to be in charge, because we don't develop well. So knowing all of that made me understand that we're doing this whole word thing wrong. And we don't know we're doing it wrong because nobody talks about it. People think everybody understands words. People think everybody understands their use of a word. Why? Well, because this is the only filter that I see the world through, so of course you understand me. And if people don't understand us, and it's unsettling and we don't like it, we go looking for people who do understand us, and we hang out with them. And that makes us feel smart. It makes us feel safe. This is how we operate. What's missing in all of this are the instructions. And the reason I'm going on and on about this whole instructions thing is, if you don't know how a thing works, it's annoying. It makes you feel like an idiot if other people know how to do it. If you feel like an idiot, you feel insecure. You're not confident. You start telling yourself negative things about yourself if other people look like they know what they're doing and you don't. And that causes us to not like what we're doing, not get interested in what we're doing, not say, hey, you know, I'm pretty good at this. It causes us to say, no, I'll just, you know, no. So no way, I don't read. I'm so busy. And we avoid the thing we're not good at. The other thing we do is, if we try to explain something and people don't get it, we get all defensive. Well, what do you mean? Well, of course, I think it's fairly clear. No, it isn't. If it were clear, I wouldn't be asking you what. And so what happens at a really critical time, when we're learning what words mean, so we can connect and talk to each other and stay safe and grow and prosper and all that good stuff, meet important people that we fall in love with, and, you know, succeed beyond our wildest dreams. If we don't know how to talk, or we're threatened by the fact that people don't seem to understand us, we shut down. Right at the very beginning. Right at the very beginning. And then we go looking for other people who don't understand either. And so, if we don't understand, and we don't want to feel like losers, we tell ourselves that those people don't know what they're talking about. Oh, they're all talk. And we divide. We don't connect. We disconnect. And we form hostile separations between us. What do you think they are? Oh, they're the talkers. And all of a sudden, if something really bad happens, like, I don't know, a hurricane or a pandemic or wildfires, and it isn't something that ends without too much consequence in, you know, a couple hours. It goes on and on and on, and we don't have the skills to figure out what to do to look after ourselves and to be okay, and we're not good at language, and we don't know how to ask, and we don't know who to ask. We're helpless because we stopped paying attention to how to communicate with words and pictures. We got lazy. We didn't know we had to do the work. Nobody told us. It never occurred to us. The reason it didn't occur to us, we're not stupid. The reason it didn't occur to us is because we learn everything by imitation. Watch and learn, grasshopper. Watch and learn. Everything we do, we learn by imitation and observation. When we learn to read, our observation skills become the ability to read. And then we can match what we saw someone do, a picture of it, and the words that describe it. The thing is, if the words aren't clear, and if the picture isn't clear, and we don't hang out with people who like to talk and explain things and understand things, we stay dumb and suspicious. And we resent like hell these people who come along and tell us we have to try harder. Isn't that weird? Isn't that interesting? When you think about that, it explains one big thing. Only one. It explains why we're exhausted. It explains why we're unhappy. It explains why we're resentful. It explains why we're afraid. The reason it's all those things is because the brain that does 95% of the work only deals in emotions that keep us on edge. There is no room in the survival manual for contentment. There is no room for a kick back and have a cold one. It doesn't exist. Why? Because there are saber-toothed whatsits right out there, and it's their lunchtime. And it's that threat that brain is working on all the time. All the time. So I'm writing this book, and I'm writing the introduction to sort of set the ground rules, and then I have all these wonderful interviews that I've done with you crazy wonderful people, which are going to go into separate booklets based on the subject. And then I'm going to have the little how-to workbook. And the how-to workbook isn't going to be long or complicated. It's going to be very clear. And it's mostly about repetition. Because success is the product of repeated action over time. Success is the product of do it again. Well done, do it again. Excellent, do it again. That's success. If you want to get fit, you want to lose weight, you want to gain weight, you want to be unfit, you want to be happy, you want to be sad, you pick the thing that gets you there and you do it again. And that's it. That's it. Isn't that crazy? And so I thought today I'm gonna work on my language skills. Today I'm going to give you examples that make so much sense. It's crazy. Okay, here's the first one, because clarity is important. It has to be clear for us to feel confident. Okay? If someone says, just rotate the lever. Me. Which way? What do you mean, which way? Which way do I rotate the lever? Well, for heaven's sakes, have you never heard of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey? No? Oh. Well, where have you been living? Somewhere where there isn't somebody annoying teaching me. Here's another example of not using, learn quickly with words. Here's another example of saying a thing that isn't true and saying it all the time so people repeat it and assume that it's true. The thing is, it's not true, and we know it's not true. And that sets up this confused jangle in our heads that is known as cognitive dissonance, which means the brain going, what? No. Here it is. Oh, I love it when the sun sets. Don't you? Oh, what a beautiful sunset. Did you see the sunrise? Oh, it's a full moon tonight. Okay. No, no, no. It isn't. It isn't any of those things. The sun is there. It's there. The earth is moving. The earth is moving. When the earth moves, we see the sun. When we move away from the sun, we don't see the sun. We know that, right? We know that, right? You knew that? Okay. We know it's the earth doing this, going around the sun. We know that. I mean, even I know that, and I didn't do well in science. So the earth is doing this, right? The moon is also... The reason we see a crescent of the moon is because the rest of it is in shadow. Ooh, what's causing the shadow? Hello, Earth. So, oh, the full moon tonight. You know, it's a full moon. It's always a full moon. It doesn't come in segments like an orange. It's a moon. However, we use language that says the opposite. And every time we do it, there's a little jangly noise that goes off in the back of the head. And that brain goes, what? What are they saying? Show me the picture. And we show the picture and the brain goes, even I know that's not right. And then, while the brain is confused like that, while the brain is saying, what's wrong with these people? While the brain is just tearing its hair out, if it had any, we then share that information with other people. We pass it along. And we get all these people talking about it. So we hear it over and over and over, cementing the confusion. And so that's just the tip of the iceberg. We do it all the time. There's another one that I think is really interesting. I only learned this recently. You know when you see a lightning strike? You know how that works? Yeah. Lightning comes out of the sky. Well, technically, that's part of it. But lightning is electricity. And electricity doesn't just randomly leap out at people. Boo! It doesn't do that. Electricity seeks its opposite. Positive seeks negative. Negative seeks positive. If you watch a slow motion video, you can Google it. It's very interesting. Watch a slow motion video of positive to negative, and you will see, it has to be slow motion, you will see that as the little positive light is looking for a clear channel, oh, because Earth is negative, it's looking for a clear channel, you will see a little thing coming up. And it's when they connect, when the two polar opposites, positive and negative, connect, Shazam. And the impact of those two opposite energies, that electricity, connect, creates a shock wave. If you look it up, the heat that's given off when those two opposites connect is hotter than the sun. Shazam! That's why houses explode. The shock wave blows things over, explodes stuff. If you're standing there, you're dead. Can people be hit by lightning twice? Yes, because if it's a high point and it's got an easy current access, then those little fingers of positivity are looking for the easiest path to reach the negative charge. That's why the Empire State Building with its thing in the air gets hit like 50 times a year, because it's supposed to absorb that energy. That's why it's up there. Airplanes get hit all the time. That's why they have their little things on the end, so the whole airplane doesn't explode. It dissipates. It dissipates through that finger sticking off. We never talk about that. We never pay attention. Why does the lightning strike? Oh, it must be bad luck. No, it isn't. It's a negative charge. It's logical, and you can't predict which negative charge and where. You can only know that it's going to happen when those two things are in alignment. That's what you can know. If we use the language correctly and we pay attention to the pictures, we understand. How are we supposed to know that? How are we supposed to know how to look stuff up? Somebody's supposed to teach us. Who? Well, clearly not that guy. Our parents. Teachers in school. We have the internet. We can look stuff up on our phones if we're curious. Are we curious? Yeah. Have you seen a picture of this puppy? So the thing that is not happening is that people are not hungry for knowledge. The reason they're not hungry is because no one has told them how delicious it is. No one has said, try this, you're going to love it. No one has said, you meet all kinds of amazing peoples in books. You do. You learn things. I don't like to read. Oh, okay. You can meet all kinds of interesting peoples and projects and things and discoveries on the internet. And you don't have to read a lot. You can look at the pictures. Yeah, I don't really have time. Okay. What do you watch on the internet? Oh, yeah, I'm a big fan of TikTok. Okay. So what people are choosing to learn are cheese doodle nuggets. They're choosing to learn stuff that has no value, stuff that we can't use to be happier, to be more successful, to enjoy things. We're doing exactly the wrong thing over and over and over. It's like I used to tell my business clients, repetition. Simple actions repeated over time is the formula for success. That's the recipe. Well, I don't see how that works. Okay, here's an idea. Want to get fat? Here's how you get fat. Eat 20 Twinkies a day for a year. Call me when you're done. Simple actions repeated over time. How do we attract the things we want and stop attracting the things we don't want? Here's the secret. Did I mention that brain only sees pictures? I mentioned that, right? Okay. If you say to that brain, chocolate, and you show the bar of chocolate, the brain says, oh yeah, got it. And that brain will help you find chocolate. If you say to that brain, okay, well, the last thing I want is chocolate, the brain says, got it, chocolate, and brings you chocolate. I said I didn't want chocolate. What's that? Did you say chocolate? I'm on it. Why is it doing that? Well, because it doesn't understand words. He was here before words. What is that noise she's making? Oh, she's holding up chocolate. Okay, I'm on it. The last thing I want is a lousy job that makes me work too hard. Did you say lousy job? Got it, I'm on it. The last thing I want is someone in my life who cheats on me. Did you say someone in your life who cheats? I'm on it. The last thing I want is to be poor. Poor? I'm on it. I love watching the sunset. Brain says, she's nuts. I don't know what I'm going to do with her. We have trained ourselves to say things that make no sense to the brain that can deliver to us what we want. How did we end up doing that? Nobody taught us differently. I was watching one of those unfortunate police shows the other day. You know, the real ones where people kill each other. Yeah. And one of the reasons I watch a show like that is it's not because I'm looking for negativity. I watch it and I feel grateful. I just, in case I wasn't feeling enough gratitude, I just sit there and I think, I am the luckiest person on the planet. I am the happiest, safest person on the planet. Look at that. That is out there. I am over here. Those poor people. And as I watch those shows, I feel great sympathy for the investigators who are trying to sort out who did what to whom. There's not a discussion about whether there's brutality or you know, sneaky doings. This is just, it's exhausting trying to keep people safe when they just won't listen, won't learn, don't care. In this one show, the detective said to the fellow, if you don't let us help you, you'll be next. And the guy said, well, it's my life. And he was the next. He was the next dead guy. Why? Oh, because he said, I can look after myself out there on the streets. Okay, yeah. So people came looking for him and took care of him their way. And you think, the information is out there. The trick is connecting the people who have it with the people who don't in a way that works for both of them. Because when you connect the people who have the information with the people who don't, there's less confusion. There's less rage. There's less fear. There's less suspicion. It doesn't mean that the world is safe and we can all sit there like Ferdinand the Bull and smell the flowers. We still have to be careful. We still have to protect ourselves. There are dangerous things out there. I read the other day that there is a plant. I don't know whether it's in Florida, but you know, if they have flying snakes in Florida and meth alligators, probably this plant. So this plant grows little bulb-like roots. Yeah. And so the creatures that live underground that eat the bulbs, nibble on the bulbs of plants, go over to investigate it. Yeah. This thing though isn't a bulb. It's a creature eater. It's a carnivorous plant. You go over and check out this bulb and, you know, the worm or the grub says, ooh, look, lunch. And the plant says, why, yes, it is. Don't mind if I do. And I thought, okay, see, we need the name of that one so I don't accidentally buy it at the flower market. Think, well, that's pretty. If you want to know how things work, you need to ask people who actually do know. And if they explain it in a way that makes no sense to you, we have to say, was there a video with that? Like, could I watch and find out what you're actually meaning by what you're saying to him. I love it when the phone rings in a mid video, don't you? So I have an example of all of this. I have a couple of stories that are pretty good, that have to do with not asking the right questions and not being clear with the instructions. So I was in a show a number of years ago, a stage show, and we were creating the show, we were creating the concept, we were creating all of the fun things that were going to happen. And the director said to me suddenly, "Can you fall?" And I said, "Sure, I can." And he said, great, okay, so here's what I want you to do. I'm gonna sit over there because I want to see, and you stand there, and you stand there, and Abby, what I want you to do is I want you to walk out and turn to Bob and fall. And I said, okay. So I went to the back, and the two guys are standing there, and I walked out, and I turned to Bob, and I fell. And everybody laughed really hard, really hard. I was quite surprised. So Bob helped me up. He's laughing. The other guy was laughing. The director's laughing. The other actor's laughing. And I said, is that it? And the director said, no, okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to say this, and then I want you to fall. Okay. So I came out, and I said whatever it was. And I looked at Bob, said whatever it was, and then dropped. Howls of laughter, bigger howls of laughter than before. He had me do it 4 more times. And at the end of the 4th time, he said, okay, you know what? It's really funny. It's really funny. My God, it's funny, but it's random and it doesn't really connect to anything. So I don't think we'll have you do that. And I said, Bob was helping me up for the however many time, and I said, well, that's good, because that was beginning to get really hurt. And everybody froze. And the director said, pardon? I said, well, I'm going to have a bruise, and it's starting to hurt. And he said, when I asked you if you can fall, what did you think I was saying to you? I said, I thought you were asking me if I could fall. It's fairly clear. And he said, okay, this is the theater, you're on a stage. I was asking if you knew how to do a staged fall. And I said, what's a staged fall? And there was it was kind of laughter. It wasn't cruel laughter, and it wasn't hysterical laughter, but all of a sudden, there were 10 people in the room, and 9 of them realized that I didn't know what he was talking about. And here's the thing. I had no reason to assume there was any question to ask. Do you know how to fall? English is my first language. Yes, I do. I do it often. Not intentionally, usually. And so he sat there, and he said, so are you all right? And I said, well, I'm going to have a bruise. I bruise really easily because I fall a lot. And he said, so how did you do that? And I said, how did I do what? Fall? I took my feet off the floor. He said, you took your feet off the floor. Yeah. Want to see me do it again? No, I don't want you to hurt yourself. I said, well, it's too late for that. I've already hurt myself. Thank you very much. And he said, well, how do you take your feet off the floor? And I said, how do you take your feet off the floor? You just lift them? He said, yeah, but nobody does that. I said, sure they do. They do it when they jump. Jump. And he said, okay, but you jump in the air and then you land on your feet. And I said, well, yeah, but you didn't want me to land on my feet. You wanted me to fall. So I jumped in the air and I just moved my feet to the side, looked startled and crumpled. And he said, well, that explains why it was so funny. And I honestly thought he had lost his mind. He was asking me to do something that was painful, but I'd give it a try. And then when he said, no, we're not going to do it, okay, that's good, because by the way, ow. And he said, I've never had to explain it to anyone. You should have said something. I'm not the director who knows what the theater is about. I'm the actor learning my craft. You're the doctor. If I walk in and say, I know nothing about the theater, tell me everything, we would never get a show off the stage. So I'm learning on the job, because you're clearly not teaching me. That sounds really goofy, doesn't it? I know it sounds goofy, because when you think about it, what kind of fool would do it? Hello, that would be me over here. When you ask directions to places in the country, this is amazing. When you ask directions in the country, they not only tell you, they show you. They are still back in the small towns, in the rural areas. They are still doing it the way this back brain really likes it. They say, well, you go about a mile down there, and you turn at the White House. That's the Smith house. You turn right at the Smith house, and then you go about another 10 miles, and you turn left at the creek. There's a creek. The brain says the White House and the creek. Left at the house, right at the creek. That brain gets it. Here's when it doesn't work. When you're in the country and you say, do you know how to get to the Smith house? Yeah, you head down about a quarter mile and you turn where the old oak used to be. Sorry? Yeah, there's hundreds of years there was this big oak tree. Everybody knows about it. Anyway, that's where you turn. Is the oak tree still there? No, it's been gone 50 years, I think. Maybe 50 years. About 50 years? Oh, yeah, at least 50 years. Okay, so then how do I know when to turn? Well, where the oak was. Say, but I'm new here. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. Oh, you know what? There's a sign. And what does it say? It says Smith House, 10 miles. Thanks. Every single thing we do is learned behavior, except the stuff that brain does, keeping the heart beating and the lungs doing this and the blood flowing and the cells doing whatever it is they do, something digesting what we ate. Except for that stuff. That brain is working on that. That's automatic. Everything else we do, we learn. The kid growing up in that farm community gives the same directions to the next person who comes along, because that's how they learned it. The person who says, oh, I have this amazing phone. It takes great videos. Okay, but can you call anybody on it? What? Yeah, mostly I text. Okay. We learn to speak. We learn to connect. We learn to communicate the way everybody else in our group, in our tribe, learns to communicate. If nobody teaches us, we guess. And if all we ever do is guess, and we guess wrong, we get scared. And after we get scared, we get depressed. And after we get depressed, we get frustrated. And after we get frustrated, we get angry. And we don't know how to explain how we feel, because no one taught us how it was acceptable. There's another thing that is really important to recognize. You know how I talked about the electricity and positive and negative and how they attract each other? Opposites attract in people as well. Now here's the interesting issue with that. I used to say, instead of, way before when we didn't talk about people who preferred to eat vegetables only, and we called them vegetarians, vegans, and all that, I used to define people as hunters or grazers. I would watch the way people behaved, and I would say, that's a hunter. Yeah, not necessarily a predator. They're not skulking after you, they're not dangerous necessarily. But they hunt for their food. They eat food that wants not to be eaten. So the hunter is good at chasing. It's good at hiding. It's good at lying in wait and pouncing. Ha! It has a whole different set of priorities and a whole different set of rules about what is normal. And when hunters raise their little ones, they teach them the same tactics. If they are speaking a language we don't understand, they're saying, okay, do this, and then do that, and never do this. If they're not speaking, they're showing them. Moving pictures, do it like this. SWAT, not like that, like this. Grazers are animals. Many of them have their eyes on the sides of their heads because predator, hunter. Grazers eat food that isn't moving. They don't have to sneak up on hay. They don't have to lie in wait for leaves in trees, for fruit growing in the trees. They can either wait for the fruit to fall out of the tree, or if they have the ability, then go and get the fruit. Get some big animal to shake it out. Grazers have their own sets of priorities and rules and instincts for survival. If a hunter and a grazer meet and they like each other, it's going to be awkward at Christmas. And if we recognize that people fall into very similar categories, we can make smarter decisions. We can avoid the disappointments and attract happiness and success by picking what works for us, what we're willing to do to make it happen. My dad, my 6'5" Viking father, who was an officer in the military and was a commanding looking figure in his uniform, would terrorize the young men who came to take me out. And he said it's his version of boot camp. You have to qualify to get in a Viking boat. You have to qualify to date my daughter. Same deal. Seemed reasonable to him. And taking the long view now, yes, I agree. One time, I was waiting for a guy to come and pick me up. And so I was older, he had a car. And I was looking out the window and I saw the car and I said, oh, he's here. And I grabbed my stuff and I'm heading for the door. My father's at the door holding onto it. And he said, not so fast, princess. Let's wait for him to come to the door. I'd like to get a look at him. And I said, oh, he doesn't like to come to the door. He told me that he would be out front. If I wasn't there, he would give me a little tap on the horn. And right as I said it, there was a tap on the horn. Boop, boop. And my father said, stay here. My father went out, strode out to the car. I watched, Oh, God. Strode out to the car, strode around to the driver's side, opened the door, leaned in. And I stood there thinking, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. And then my father stepped back. And he stood there with his arms folded. And a guy sat in the car. And I couldn't hear what was going on. Nobody was angry. My father was smiling, which was not always a positive thing, but he was smiling, had his arms folded, smiling. And the guy stayed in the car, stayed in the car, and stayed in the car. And my dad shrugged his shoulders, closed the door, patted it a couple of times, and the guy drove away. And my dad walked in. And I said, what happened? Where's he going? And my dad said, he changed his mind. And I said, what do you mean he changed his mind? We're going out. And he said, no, he changed his mind. He realized that we live by a different set of rules of engagement. They weren't to his liking. What? What does that mean? He said, I told him that if he wasn't man enough to come in the house and meet your mother and father properly, then he wasn't man enough to date my daughter. It was his choice. And I waited. I said, he didn't do anything. And he said, oh yes, he chose. He chose that he wasn't man enough. So I sent him on his way. My dad was a hunter. No question. That guy was a hunter. But he was the kind of hunter who preferred to lie in wait for the prey. My dad would stride out, poke the prey in the eye, and say, let's do this. I posted a video a little earlier of 3 little girls dancing, and I said, which one are you? Now, clearly I'm the little girl in the middle. 2 other little girls kind of not really into it at all. I'm an into it. I'm a leaner in. If I'm out, I'm all in. If I stay away, fine. That's the kind of thing I have to know isn't the same for everyone else. Why do I have to know it? Do I have to educate myself for that? So that I don't live a life of bitter disappointment, and neither do the other people. I'm the positive lightning. I'm looking for the match. If it's not even willing to come up off the earth, it's wasting my time. Pivotry in Motion is a collection of books about people who said, that's not good enough, I deserve better. They may not have known how they were doing it. They may not have understood why it worked. All they knew was, that's not good enough for me. I'll try something else. And they did. And are they happy? Yes, they are. Yeah. It's interesting. All the people I've interviewed would never, ever reverse the decision they made, because they found what they wanted, and if they hadn't gone looking, they would not have been happy. So, that's the video today. It is an astonishing thing that people don't tell you, don't volunteer, don't step up to be part of a conversation. People far too often are happy to be spectators, are happy to let you do the work. And the thing is, I've said this a lot to my career clients who aren't happy with their lives. A relationship is a two-way street. You can't drive on both sides of the street at the same time. You can't be driving your side and then drive the other side for the other person for them. Doesn't work. You can only be you. You can't be them till they feel like it. Where we're going with this, what I'm concerned about, what I care about so deeply, is the number of people who are unhappy, the number of people who are losing hope, who are clutching beliefs that don't work for them, who are fearful, suspicious, putting up walls, yelling at people, being rude. On what planet, in what galaxy is it acceptable to walk up to someone in authority and spit on them because you don't like it? Where does that happen successfully? Nowhere. Although it appears to be happening with alarming frequency on airplanes right now. Who do these people think they are? You bought a ticket. Good for you. Sit down. Do you know how to fly the plane? Are you a pilot? No. Are you putting in the hours serving people and wearing the uniform? No. Sit down. Be polite. They can't, because they're confused, they're angry, they're frustrated, they're lonely, they're scared, because no one is showing them how it works. Everyone's waiting for them to ask. They didn't know they had to ask. So it's a deadlock, it's a stalemate. I talked to my lovely friend the other day who is going to do more with her business. And I said, you need to create something visual that people see and like right away, and use that visual to tie in to your brand. And she said, oh, what a good idea. That's right. When you see an ad for a hamburger, do they just say hamburger, or do they show you the picture of the hamburger? Do they show you the picture of the hamburger just around supper time? Why do they do that? Because that's when you're hungry. And does the hamburger look amazing? Absolutely. Why? Well, because they want you to say, let's get 2 of those. Let's get 6. Does it come in a supersize? We have to tell people who we are, what we do, what we can do for them, what we'd like them to do for us every day. Pivotry in Motion is going to show you how. It's not just going to say, be the change. Imagine this. Try harder. Those aren't instructions that tell you which end to hold. They're expectations of achievement. They're verbal pictures. Close your eyes and imagine a horse. I've never seen a horse. Even better. No, I don't know how to do that. Close my eyes. When I close my eyes, you know what I see? Blackness. What color is the horse? Black? You have to tell me how it's done. That sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds simplistic. And yet, if you tell me the exact thing to do, I'll be awesome at it. If you tell me the rules here, I'll be awesome at that too. If you don't tell me, I assume you don't know either, so I guess it's a free-for-all. There are brass plaques in New York subway cars that say, no spitting in the car. When I first heard that happened, that they had those plaques. I didn't believe it. When I got on my first subway ride and I saw the plaque, you know what I said to myself? I wonder how long it took them to realize they needed to put up a sign. I wonder exactly how nauseating and disgusting and unsanitary it was. They should know better. Well, apparently they don't. Put up a sign. You know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for the sign to appear in airplanes. I'm waiting for signs to say, start every sentence with please. I'm waiting for the signs. And the reason is, it's not that the passengers are rude or surly or uncivilized. None of us is civilized until we're taught otherwise. No one has taught them how it's done. And the reason no one has taught them is that no one taught the teachers. We're all just expecting it to happen. Foof. Like those weight loss programs. Crazy video. Crazy video and yet true. Goofy? Not as goofy. There'll be more goofy on Thursday. By the way, you know what the Thursday video is? Number 64. The question is going to be, and I'm not going to sing, will you still need me when it's 64? So between now and then, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for telling your friends. I want to thank you for making this begin to grow. We have to tell them because they don't know. And I have to tell you, ask you to tell them because you don't know. See how it works? And when I say, I so appreciate it, I want you to know that I really do. I really appreciate it. I came, I put on earrings, I faced the front, and I had something to share. You set aside the time in your day to listen and see if it made any sense and had any value to you. That's a conversation. That's connection. That's building a community of people who like to know and want to grow. And that's us. So please tell your friends, when you have a chance, tell them that I have a YouTube channel so that I can add more people there. And that's it. Watch again. Send me questions, send me messages, do whatever so that we have this conversation flowing. I didn't have a chance much because I was really, Charles is just agreeing so I don't bring a snake to him. Charles, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry about that. So, play nice. When we get together like this and we have an opportunity and I share the things that I have learned and the things that I am learning, the idea is not that I'm the only one learning. Done, and it's going to be fabulous. I want to turn it into a television series. I want it to be an interview series. You know, it's people do the crazy things, The Amazing Race, People Are Funny, Queen for a Day. It's all those shows wrapped up in one. Tell me about your pivot. Tell me how you changed. Tell me how you rose above. And it's going to be wonderful. We'll have stringers across the country doing the interviews. Be amazing. It's going to be really, really fun. I can't wait. However, I do have to wait because I have to do the books first. And I have to do these interviews. And it's some of the best moments of my day, and I hope they are too, for you. So, Thursday, more to come. Fun stuff to come. I might even have some images of the book. We'll see. In scare you, we can talk about it. You don't have to carry the burden alone. No one is supposed to carry the burden alone. We are a community. Okay? And by the way, this is not just about you, you know. Remember to hug your loved ones. They're pretty special. Okay? See you Thursday. Bye-bye for now.